Back in December of 2020, after a year of what just felt like collective grief and missed moments all over the place, I was reading, I can't remember if I was reading online or if I was reading in a book, but I read this really sweet idea. And it was write one thing you're grateful for every night on like a slip of paper on a post-it note and toss it into a jar. And, at the end of the year, you read it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can do that. I mean, well, maybe we could just do that at dinner, and we could get the whole family involved. And like, this would be phenomenal. So now it's 2025 and we have how many gratitude slips? Zero, friends. We have zero. So clearly, I am not great at the practical daily group effort of gratitude. But my guest today is a fantastic expert. His name is Kevin Monroe, and he is an evangelist for gratitude, and not the fluffy kind, not the kind that just creates a jar, even though I think that jar is really meaningful, but the kind that can change how you lead and really how you live. So welcome to the Joyosity podcast. We're helping you lead with joy and curiosity, and also, multiple drinks on hand. And we have 3 bedrock beliefs that we base everything that we do on. First, that we have to lead with everything that makes us human. We have to connect with that profound goodness of humanity. And number 2, we can, with genuine curiosity, create positive culture by welcoming and inviting the complexity of who we are as humans. And number 3, that joy is the heartbeat of a healthy leader and a healthy organization. So each week we are bringing experts and leaders and conversations that will help you take big ideas, big philosophies, and really apply them in the minivan and in your conference rooms every day. And that's what we're wanting. And so today's guest, I'm so excited. You're probably going to want to grab like paper, pencil. If you're driving, don't do that. But okay, so Kevin Monroe is a preeminent expert in the transformative power of gratitude in the workplace. So, when I saw that, I was like, okay, guys, joy and gratitude. These guys are married and I love it. So, but as a workplace gratitude consultant and expert, he helps organizations that struggle when top talent leaves or employees are like, that disengagement that we don't want. And helps renew that experience at work with motivation and retention and performance by using his frameworks and assessments to help your workplace and you as a leader. And so I am super thrilled to have Kevin here today.
Oh
Welcome.
my gosh, I'm so excited to be here and to join you, Jen. And I love the 3 bedrock principles. And in our conversations, I hope we touch all 3 of those and weave gratitude into the mix there.
I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. And I just want to dive in first by starting with your story. You've done a lot of different things in your life. How did you get to this and being a gratitude leader in helping us understand what that means at work, a place where
Yeah.
that's not typically where we think about gratitude?
Um, all right. That's a great place to start, especially today.
Mm.
Um, but the one thing I want to just say up front, I did not have any grand strategic plan for this journey. I am the accidental gratitude guy. I mean, I didn't set out to discover gratitude. So, Jen, it all started 7 years ago, the day of our recording, and that's when I realized 2 days ago this like. Gosh, I'm talking to Jen on the 7-year anniversary of this. So let me
Oh,
take you listener back because maybe somebody listening is in the place I was 7 years ago right now.
mm.
It happened one morning, and I am a morning person usually. I am up between 4:30, 5:15, 5:30 without an alarm clock. I mean,
Mm.
I just have this internal clock. But that day, I woke up several times and I looked over at the clock. I'm like, no, I'm just not feeling it today. I'm just not feeling it. And so finally at 7:45 that morning, I peeled myself out of bed. And I had no zest for life. There was no joy. There was no gratitude. It was just like, oh, not today. Have you ever felt like that? I mean, right? I mean, I knew I was in the pit of despair.
Yeah.
And I know enough that when I'm in despair, if I don't do something, I'm going down the slippery slope into depression.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing, like, because it's so hard to get moving, but that is the thing that moves you out. So
Yeah,
it's so hard.
right. So that morning, I finally drug myself out of bed, did a couple of things, to wake up, and I came into my office. And I have morning rhythms and rituals. Not so much rituals. I call them rhythms and routines.
Mhm.
They're not things I always do in the same order every day, but I do a certain set of things almost every morning. But that morning I didn't feel like doing any of them. But I did because I was in this uh, developing a habit. And that day happened to be 744 days of this particular habit. Because when I was invited to this habit by a mentor, and I know you talk about how important mentors are in our lives. I had a mentor, and I had been separated from Doug for about 15, 17 years. And I see Doug one day at a meeting. And Doug goes, "Oh, Kevin, it's so good to see you." And we're talking. He says, "Hey, I got an invitation for you. Would you join me in praying 15 minutes a day?" And I just go, uh, uh, "Doug, I'm not sure if I prayed 15 minutes last year," right? I mean, 15 minutes a day? What that's a mighty big ask. And I'm thinking he's got some kind of real formulaic program, and there are these 97 steps to your 15 minutes of prayer, because that's how I was taught prayer. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And Doug says, "No, all I'm talking about, will you sit down with a journal and with the Holy Book, and from our faith, the Holy Book's the Bible, and will you just ask God if He has anything to say to you that day?" I'm like, "Oh, I think I can do that, right? So sign me up, Doug." So I was in time blocking mastery at that moment, and the way you really create a habit is to do it for 66 days, right? And that's what I learned from um, the One Thing book, and the journey that I was on out of that with Gary Keller, and Jay Papasan. So I was in the initial cohort of time blocking mastery, and we had these charts, and I was in that. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to add prayer to that list. But that morning was day 744 of that journey,
Oh my
Jen.
gosh, like more than 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But there was nothing to pray. I mean, there
Mm.
were no words that were coming out. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, "Oh, I don't feel it." And finally, I just prayed this. And I mean, here's the journal right here, right? I keep it on my desk. "Holy Spirit, you are the creative spark of the universe. Spark creativity in me." And I'm just laying on the floor. And I probably nodded off, right? I'm in that liminal space, because that's how I pray some days. I'm really, 45 minutes later, I just sit up erect, and there was this idea, 85% fully formed. Launch a 90-day program, call it the Extraordinary Experiment. And for 13 weeks, have an experiment every week that you're inviting people who, when they look in the mirror, they see what you see: an ordinary guy, an ordinary gal. And they just, who, me? I'm just an ordinary person. But I want to make an extraordinary difference in the world.
Mm.
Right? I want to make an extraordinary difference for the people I lead, for the team I lead, for the company I'm a part of, for the company I own, whatever that is. I'm like, okay. And so we mapped out these 13, what we call challenges. And week 6, we labeled the gratitude challenge.
Mm.
And each week we dropped a video on Monday, and then we provided some additional resources on Wednesday, and on Friday, a survey. What happened this week? And when we started to record the video for week 6, gratitude, it was the first time in my life that I asked, are being thankful and being grateful the same thing?
Mm.
And
That's
Jen,
so
I
good.
didn't know the answer fully, but I knew they weren't. And that is what really started me on this gratitude journey. And what I was really trying to do was escape the scarcity that had gripped my mind, my thinking, and so much of my life and work for years. And I started infusing gratitude into everything I did. Every meeting I'd find some way to start the meeting. Hey, what's the best thing that's happened to you this week? What's something you're grateful for? Who made who brightened your day this week? Any kind of these questions. Well, let's fast forward to June 17th, 2019, when I heard 4 words: host a gratitude challenge. And I thought, well, now that's an interesting idea. So I invited a friend who had written a book on gratitude that was joining me on a podcast I hosted at that time. I said, hey, Steve, what would you think if we hosted a gratitude challenge when we launched the podcast? He goes, love it. Let's do it. So got my friend Christy, and the 3 of us meet on Zoom, and we outline and we decide we're going to do a 10-day gratitude challenge. And we announce it on July 2nd, 2019, which means we're trying to recruit people the week of July 4th, right? And everybody's on vacation. So we work like crazy. We get 100 people signed up. We're feeling good about that. And then on Saturday, a friend of mine hears about this and he says, hey, Kevin, can I share this with my community? I'm like, sure, Steve. Sunday morning, he calls me, can I put this in my blog post? I'm like, sure, Steve. From Saturday at 2:00 to Monday at noon when we closed the doors, 194 additional people joined us, Jen, because of
Amazing.
my friend Steve Brown's radical generosity.
Mm.
So 2 days, a day later, we have 100 people on a waiting list. So I thought we would do this once, maybe twice. I ended up hosting that challenge 22 times over the next 20 months with 2,800 plus people joining from 73 countries of the world.
Goodness.
And Jen, just somewhere along that journey, people started calling me the gratitude guy. And it stuck. And I remember the day it really came home to me, January of 2020, a friend of mine, Tracy Fenton, said, hey, Kevin, I'd love for you to host, to do a webinar for my leadership cohort. I said, oh, I'd love to do it. What do you want me to do it on, Tracy? And she goes, duh, gratitude.
Do you do anything else?
I was like, oh, I've become the gratitude guy.
Mm,
So it's a crazy journey, but
yeah.
it started in the pits of despair for
Yeah.
me.
Well,
And
I think
gratitude was my way out of that pit.
it's so common, and that we also don't talk about it, that we experience these times of difficulty and despair. And while I want to always help people get out, and sometimes people need extraordinary things to get out, or additional support and professional help, but it's also just a normal part of being human that we hit these really deep lows. And I talk about real joy has deep roots, and roots form in the dark, and gratitude can often start, as your story shows us, in the midst of it. And one of the things that you said, I think, is really important, I'd like to come back to, is helping us understand the difference between gratitude and thankfulness, because
Okay.
they are
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Okay. So now let me just for a moment, of your 3 foundations, we're talking about number 2, right? This is remembering what it means to be fully human, recognizing that.
Well, number one, they don't have to be in that order. I just don't
Okay.
say them in
Okay.
that order. But yes, like, to be fully human.
Yeah.
And number two is that it's complex to be
Yeah.
human.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I just want to go, hey, these tie to what Jen teaches. Uh in in the complexity of our humanity, we have good days, we have bad days,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
And sometimes we just get in a funk and you don't even know why you're in a funk, but
yeah.
you're in a funk and you
Or
find
you're just
yourself
gonna
in a
wake
funk.
up one day and you didn't, like, have I been in this for a while? How
Yeah.
long has this been happening?
Yeah, right?
Mhm.
So, it took me a while to discover the difference, but where I finally landed, and then, did some study of the etymology of the words grateful and thankful. To me, the significant difference is being thankful can often be impersonal and transactional.
Mm.
For example, okay, I've got two, but you're in any kind of line where you're interacting with a person. But let's take a coffee shop. You're at a coffee shop or a tea house, and you're going through, and you just happen to be glued to your phone while they're doing their thing, and you placed your order on your phone. You've not talked to anybody yet, and somebody puts a cup in your way. Oh, there's my gratitude cup. But they put the stick a cup in your direction, and you take it. And Jen, the way I was raised, programmed, if you
Oh, it's
will,
automatic.
automatic. Thank you. Thanks. Whatever. Right. Did I even recognize that that was a human being that's
Mm.
handing me a cup of coffee? Have I looked them in the eye? Have I done anything that says, hey, I see you? You're an amazing human? No, it's just so off, and it can be transactional. Now, the extreme of this that I think of, um, have you ever heard of Kmart? Was there a
Oh
Kmart
my
in
gosh, and the blue light special. Oh my gosh, and
the
like
blue light
right there in the
special?
corner.
But there was another thing. There was another thing Kmart's were famous for. They actually had a saying, and I remember as a kid talking about curiosity. That's another one of the values. I was always curious, and I
Mhm.
remember being a little skinhead kid there with my mom at the Kmart, and we had to go to the big city to get to a Kmart because the little town I grew up in didn't have our own Kmart until decades later. But and this is when the cash register was where they had to punch buttons, numbers, right? They didn't barcode anything. They're just punching all these numbers. And right there on the side of the cash register was this laminated card, TYFSAK. And every time at the end of here's the word
Okay,
again.
I'm getting
At
I
the
had to
end of
look at
every
it in my head. Mhm.
transaction,
Say the letters again.
TYFSAK.
Okay.
At the end of every checkout transaction, the cashier, usually in some kind of lifeless tone, "Thank you for shopping at Kmart today. Thank you for shopping at Kmart today. They're the words, "Thank you for shopping at Kmart today." I never felt they really appreciated
Right.
me at
There
all,
wasn't a
right?
depth there.
This robotic programmed response. Now somebody understood this should be important. We want people to feel appreciated. We want them to know we thank them. But when you just get people acting almost as robots, just spitting it out. Now let's contrast that when you go to a Chick-fil-A, who is an amazing company that teaches these principles. And when you ask, "Hey, can you refill my coffee?" and they refill it, what do they say? You say,
My
"Thank you."
pleasure.
They go, "What?"
My pleasure.
"My pleasure. My pleasure." I feel it, right? It's like, what they really do. They mean it. It's not just my pleasure. Yeah, it's no, they mean it. So being thankful can be transactional.
Mm.
It can be impersonal. Where gratitude, I believe, requires this human to human connection where I pause a moment and I see you as a fellow human. And if you've got on a name tag, here's something I learned from my dad. I mean, when I was a kid, he knew everybody by name. He called everybody by name. And if somebody is wearing a uniform and it has their name on it, hint, that is for your benefit as the client or the customer, not them as the employee. They don't have to look down and go, "Who am I?" "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm Bill. I'm Bill." But what if you go, "Hey Bill, thank you for this cup of coffee." Or as I have a crazy friend, Vicky. She'll say, and she says this all the time in New York City. The barista's handing her a cup of coffee. She goes, "Did you make my coffee with love today?" And Jen, more times than not, they say, "Why, yes, I did," or some kind of response. And then there's like, "Oh, I know it's going to taste better."
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what happened? Contrast those with, "Thank you," with, "Hey, Jen, did you make my coffee with love today?" Or, "Hey, Jen, well, how's your morning going so far?"
Mhm.
Or, "Hey, Jen, has anybody told you you're awesome yet today?
Yeah.
Let me be the first." Or if she says, "Yeah, everybody has." "Well, I want to join the line, man. Everybody must know that about you." But those things, that's a human to human interaction.
Yeah. What I'm
And it
hearing.
elevates that person, right?
Yes. So, what I am loving about it is it plays into the deep value of connection. So yesterday I was teaching a group and speaking event for a group of CEOs. And one of the sections of the day, we were talking about connection, because that's what's part of engagement. We talk about the lagging indicator. I call it a lagging indicator
It is.
of engagement scores, like that you have to do other things first. But connection is the energy that happens between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. And even Vicky's little question, did you make it with love today? Even if somebody responds in a sarcastic way, like, like the 5% of the time where you get a little grumpy person, that person still has the open door to feel seen in it, because they got to be heard. And I would imagine, I don't know Vicky, but I bet there's a different response from her when she hears that from somebody, because the difference, what I'm hearing you say between thankfulness or saying thank you and being truly grateful is the connection. It is the human connection that we have when we feel seen, heard, and valued.
Okay, so Jenn, since you've said this, I've got to piggyback on this, because I'm going to say there's one more.
Okay.
I believe, and this is, okay, so for me, first, this started as a very personal quest, right? And 9 months in it, I start trying to figure out, okay, if this is so meaningful, if gratitude is so meaningful, how do we take it into the workplaces of the world? And what's missing in the workplaces of the world when there is no gratitude? And then it slowly began to dawn on me. And where I first started seeing this is at the intersection of the employee experience, recognition and rewards, and gratitude, right? Because so many companies have recognition programs that are so depersonalized, right?
Yeah.
But what I recognize is people everywhere have an innate desire to, they want to feel. They don't want to just be. They don't want to just have some inkling. No, they want to feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated is the word I'd add to that.
Yeah.
William James talked about that the deepest longing of human nature is the longing to be appreciated, right? To be recognized. And so when you appreciate someone, you are seeing them, right? You can't appreciate somebody without seeing them. It requires connection. And so the way we teach this, we teach it as pause, notice, express. Right? You've got, and the people that have joined us on gratitude journeys, the number one skill they say they've learned is the pause, because most of us are traveling at warp speed.
So we talked about this again in the group yesterday, because like the whole day should be a day of pause. And, they're trying to decide, am I going to shut my computer and pay attention? Or, like they had some decisions to make, this group of very busy CEOs. And it's like, because we feel the pressure, but if I don't do this, then, and we make up a whole bunch of stories. And the pause actually creates almost not that we genuinely stop time, but I always feel like after the pause, I see better, which makes it more effective.
Yeah, truly. I mean, something happens in the pause. So when people pause, then what do you do when you pause? Notice. Notice what? Notice whatever there is to notice. Notice whoever is around you. Notice, did this person just do something extraordinary? Right? I mean, you have all of these encounters, whether at work or somebody else's workplace, right? The coffee shop may not be your workplace, but it's their workplace. And when you experience a human there doing something extraordinary, that's worthy of recognition. It's worthy of recognition both from the leaders of that organization as well as the patrons of that organization, because there are I'm going to guess something. Let me wager this about you, listener of Joyosity. I'm going to wager that when somebody delivers extraordinary service to you, I'm going to guess that you call that out. I'm going to guess that you're not just a person who complains when things go wrong, but you celebrate when things go right.
Yeah.
Am I right, Jen?
I hope so. Yesterday, when I was returning my rental car, it was a whole fiasco of a thing. Traffic in Chicago. I'm just going to say that was the problem. Step one, traffic in Chicago. Step two, I'd rented an electric vehicle, and I've rented many, and they usually don't need to be recharged with the amount of time that I have them. Well, this car happened to be, I don't know if it was older, I don't know anything about it, but it drained. And so I'm Googling, places, and there was one like a mile from the drop-off place, which is common for regular gas
Right.
stations. Except when I got there, it wasn't actually there. So there was a mistake in Google
Oh,
Maps. Sorry, Google. Anyway, so I get to the place. I'm 22 minutes late, and there's a 29-minute grace period because I called to figure that out. And I was 1% below what I was supposed to be on. And I was flustered, and I basically just begged. I was like, I'm just begging for pity. Is there any way, or is there another place I could take it to, and you can give me 15 minutes to go get it done? And she was lovely, and she's like, this happens, it's fine, because I rent like once a week, so
Yeah.
I'm there all the time. Not this particular location, but what was so great is, so then we started talking about her a little bit. Her name is Kimberly. So Kimberly in the Chicago Avis office was amazing, and she was so helpful. And in a moment where I was flustered, a little worried, I'd been in traffic that I'm not used to. I went, like all of those things. I wasn't really elevated. Like I wasn't angry with her, but I was just like flustered. And because that interaction, I was immediately calmer. And I thought later how silly I was, because it was going to cost me $35, which is not insignificant, but also not something I wanted to pay when I was trying to, it wasn't really that big of a deal, but it was also like, I tried and it wasn't working. and it's her ability to see me helped me then see her in a moment where it would have been very easy for me not to see her and my own fluster. But I don't know that I would have gotten there without her doing that first.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. And then, right, when the survey comes, because it will come.
It will come.
It will come.
Yeah.
What when you call out, hey, man, it was a bad day, but my interaction with Kimberly made it so much better.
Yeah.
And you are blessed. You are you should feel grateful for having such an amazing employee on your team that makes your brand shine to its customers.
Yeah.
Right. That little bit. Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it also tells me when things like that happen, and I know you know this, it tells me that there's good leadership at that organization.
Yeah.
Because frontline employees can only deliver excellent service if their cup is full.
Yes. If their cup is full, if they're treated with fullness and compassion themselves, and then super practically given the freedom to make those decisions.
Exactly.
In
Right.
that way.
Yeah.
And because that person's not going to do that if they have a leader who's been down on them all day, and they'll be like, well, that's what, it's a really special person to turn that around.
I got to tell you a story. I remember, so vividly, and so many times when I'm in and people are talking about this. So I was in with this major telecommunications organization in the 90s. And this is when the empowerment thing first was, is really big. Empowerment. So we had these empowerment initiatives, and we are in a big empowerment team meeting. And there was one guy, his name's Mike. And Mike had used his empowerment to make a decision to do something for a customer. And Mike did more for the customer than anybody in leadership thought Mike should have done for the customer. And in that meeting, they start chastising Mike, and they berating Mike in front of 50 leaders and managers in the company. And I leaned over to a friend. I just said, make a note. The empowerment movement died at 3:25 today.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to take a risk
Mm.
after somebody was just berated for being empowered.
Yeah.
But when companies go, wow, you know, you hear the stories from legendary companies when somebody went above and beyond. They weren't berated for it. They were celebrated for it. And that cemented that, hey, this is the kind of company we are. We go the extra mile.
Yeah.
We go above and beyond. Even if somebody goes too far, we're going to help them realize that next time, but we're not going to chastise them publicly and
Yeah.
berate them.
Oh my goodness. And there's so many practical applications to gratitude in the workplace. And so I'm so glad we have you for another conversation, because I want to get to how do we do that? I love the pause, notice, appreciate, pause, notice, tell. Express. Pause, notice, express. That's super helpful. And I want to dig in next time.
I have to send you one of these, right? There's the little
yes,
triangle.
please. I love a
Pause,
good sticker.
notice, express.
So good. All right.
Hey, we get to talk more?
I know. Yeah. Okay. We'll see you in next week.
So let me put my coach hat on for just a moment. Don't just leave this here. Take a moment. What did you learn? What's your next tiny action step? Share this episode with someone and tell them what you're going to do. Check the show notes for all the links and connect with us on LinkedIn and all the other socials, or just, drop me an email at Jenn with 2 N's at jennwhitmer.com. We want to keep this conversation going with you. I know your earballs have a lot coming at them, so thank you for listening to the Joyosity podcast and being a part of our community. Please take a moment to rate and subscribe. It helps more people join us in the movement to create positive culture with complex people. So work is a joy, people are whole, and organizations flourish. Can't wait for you to join us next week.